It's it's gonna be May. You guys, it is May 1st. Celiac Disease Awareness Month is the month of May. And I'm so excited about it. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm doing something new. So those of you who are watching on YouTube, welcome. I am very self-conscious of how I look on the screen. But I am now going to start providing the podcast to be streamed on YouTube. So if you are one of those people, which there were so many people who voted last week on my Instagram polls, for voting for my podcast to be on YouTube. It's now going to be streamed on YouTube and I'll be able to make content out of that. But welcome, whether you are a Spotify listener, Apple listener, or a podcast like browser listener, YouTube listener. I'm just happy that you're all here. I have an awesome lineup for the month of May. Now, the Celiac Disease Awareness Month is a big part of my job for me. I'm doing a lot of brand deals, showcasing a lot of my favorite products. The podcast actually is going to have a lot of really cool guests this month. I think I'm going to be doing one solo episode, which is going to be this week's episode. And then every episode after for the rest of this month is going to be a guest episode, just because I would like to have more educational content this month specifically for Celiac Disease Awareness Month. So yay for those of us who have celiac disease. We get to be celebrated. This month is for us, and I hope that you treat yourself and enjoy your favorite things and also share your celiac story. Have the courage to share a little bit more about like your life and how celiac disease impacts your life with your personal followers, whether you have a private or a personal or a public Instagram page or Facebook. This month is a chance for you to share and raise awareness so that more people understand. I had a really cool experience this last week. On Sunday, our neighborhood, like everyone who lives on our street, we had a neighborhood potluck. And almost everyone on my street knows that I have celiac disease, but not everybody I would necessarily trust to make food for me. And one of my neighbors had said, I'm going to do kebabs that we're going to grill on the grill and I'm going to marinate them. And I ended up texting her separately outside of this group chat that we had. And I said, can you just send me a picture of the recipe that you're planning on using? And she sent me a screenshot of a recipe that she said, I'm already planning on using this one. And I chose this one because I didn't see that there was anything gluten-free on it. She said, but can you double check for me? And so I looked at the recipe and I said, yes, this is totally fine. Thank you so much for doing that for me. And she was like, of course. And then later at the barbecue, her husband was like, we seasoned all of the meat with Lipton onion soup mix. And I don't think that's gluten-free. So he said, we set aside 4 patties that don't have any seasoning on them for you to season yourself. And I was like, thank you so much. And I wasn't expecting to be able to eat any hamburgers because they're like, we'll take care of the meat. You guys just do the sides. And then they came to me and they said, we kind of figured that this Lipton onion soup mix didn't have, like, it wasn't safe for you. So we set aside these buns. And I was just like so appreciative. And he said, which was so impactful for me, he just said, no, he said, we're happy to do it. We're learning. And so we're happy to be learning how to help people because you're not the only person in our lives who's gluten-free and we're still learning. And I was like, how cool is it that I wasn't trying to like push my gluten-free, like this is the way it has to be, like agenda down anyone else's throats, but everyone received it so well. And it was just so cool for him to say, like, we're learning and we're happy to do this because it's important for us to learn these things. So thanks for giving us that opportunity. And of course, I brought some watermelon and I brought a gluten-free dessert so that I knew that I could at least have one of the desserts. Anyway, it turned out to be a really awesome experience. And I just thought, how cool is it that his mindset, my neighbor and his wife, their mindset was like, we're happy to do it and we're learning this new way of, cooking for somebody and we appreciate the opportunity to learn. So don't be afraid to speak up for your needs. And it's in these situations where we can take the time to educate our neighbors, people in our community, people in our faith community, people in our kids' friends groups. There's just a lot of communities that we're all a part of. And when we take the time to educate and raise awareness about celiac disease, people have the opportunity to learn. And the awareness is brought to them, and 9 times out of 10, whoever it is that you're teaching is more than happy to make changes or make necessary adjustments to making food for you or for your child, because they're more than happy to, because people are good. So many people are good, and I feel so blessed to be a part of a lot of really awesome communities. Okay, so before we dive into the meat of the show, like I had said, I'm going to be highlighting some awesome companies and brands over on Instagram. So I do want to give you a heads up that a lot of my content this month is branded. It is paid content, but it is content that I am passionate about, products that I genuinely love and use, and things that I feel like you guys need to know about. So just to give you a heads up there that, May is a big month for me as far as content creation and my work and my job. So there's that, asterisk for May Celiac Disease Awareness Month. All right, the meat of this episode, I wanted to talk about my celiac diagnosis and kind of my experience, but not only mine, but so many of yours who have had the same experience, which is actually a negative experience with what being diagnosed with celiac disease looked like for you and like what that journey took you on. So many people struggle within the first several months to a year plus. I mean, for me, it was over 2 years of really struggling because I didn't have any resources and I wasn't given any proper education. And because people don't get the proper education at a doctor's appointment, from their GI or even from their primary care physician, because people aren't getting that proper education, it's not leading to proper healing. It's not leading to making the best choices for your health because you don't understand what celiac disease is or what's actually going on an autoimmune level, like what's going on inside your body, right? So I wanted to talk about like the very, very basics of what this autoimmune disease is and why it needs to be treated so specifically. So I'm going to just kind of give you some facts about celiac disease because maybe you've never really heard all of the correct and proper information that you need or understand the why behind why we eat gluten-free for celiac disease. So celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, where it targets the small intestine. So this is a disorder where if you ingest gluten, which is found in wheat, barley, and rye, it triggers an autoimmune response that can damage the small intestine of the villi in your small intestine. This can lead to various symptoms. Now we know celiac disease has over 300 symptoms linked to it. A lot of symptoms are gastro-related, but I would say that also a lot of symptoms are neurological related. We have brain fog, we have neurological symptoms, nerve problems, numbness in our hands and feet, our extremities have problems, bone problems, joint problems. Now, this all stems from our gut. Now we know our gut is so important to keep healthy, but if you have celiac disease and you are undiagnosed and you're eating gluten, your small intestine and the villi lining your small intestine are being damaged over and over and over again. And it takes a long time for those villi, for those cells to repair. So this is why cheating is not an option for people with celiac disease, because you have these little villi that line your small intestine, and they almost kind of look um, like the way that I kind of imagine them is like a little sea creature that is like, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my hands, but like they're like it's like a little sea creature that wiggles in the ocean, kind of like seaweed waving in the ocean. And if we eat gluten, which again is found in wheat, barley, and rye, those villi get damaged. They basically kind of get blunted or quote unquote get burned off. And their main function is to absorb nutrients. So when we eat food, when we take our vitamins, when we're eating foods that are supposed to nourish our body, that actually give our body the vitamins and minerals that we need to function, the villi can't do their job to pull in and absorb those nutrients. So then we become malabsorbed. Now, in children, celiac disease is a big sign of celiac disease is failure to thrive, not reaching your benchmarks, having issues with growth, and that's because you're not absorbing any nutrients. So a lot of the symptoms that are surrounding this disease can include, diarrhea, fatigue, weight loss, weight gain, abdominal pain, bloating, and then nutrition deficiencies, bone deficiencies, pre-osteoporosis, things that are affecting the growth and progress of all of our systems, because we need the nutrients that food and water and minerals and vitamins give to us. But if our intestines can't absorb that, it's just going right through us and we're not thriving, right? So those villi need to heal. This is where I feel like the lack of education is not happening in doctors' offices, in my personal opinion, because my experience was, you have celiac disease, here's a pamphlet, you need to eat a gluten-free diet. Good luck. I'm not joking you. My appointment was less than 10 minutes. And not only was I kind of like in shock and overwhelmed by what is this new autoimmune disease and what does this new life look like for me, but all I get is a pamphlet and they send me on my way. They don't teach me how to read a label, what to look for, what ingredients to look for. They don't even give me a list of foods that I can eat. It is just so basic of a pamphlet. Now, granted, this was 8 years ago. I don't know how things have improved since, but based on the clients that I consult with and have been consulting with for 3 years, the education still is not happening. And that's a huge problem as far as basically getting on the right path to start thriving with this disease and start healing your gut lining and allowing that villi to start healing so that it actually can perform its proper function, which is to absorb nutrients. Now, healing takes time. Healing is not linear. Healing is like, a lot of people are like, well, I've been gluten-free for a month and I still don't feel better. Well, who knows how long your villi have been blunted or damaged. You need to allow your body time to heal. Now, healing is going to look different for everybody, but an average time of healing for those cells to actually repair is anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. So if you have only been 2 weeks off gluten and you're still not feeling better, and so you're like, well, I'm not feeling better, so I'm just going to keep eating gluten because I don't even care that much. You haven't allowed yourself the time to actually heal to the point where you're going to start absorbing nutrients and you're going to start feeling better, because your villi are actually doing their job in absorbing what you need, what your body needs from your food and from your vitamins and minerals that you're getting from your nutrition, right? So please be patient with healing. Be patient with your body. Do not compare your journey to anybody else's. Now, when I was first diagnosed with celiac disease, I was living with chronic symptoms and I felt like crap all the time. So once I switched to a gluten-free diet, within 7 to 10 days, I was not having the same symptoms that I was having before. It was almost like my symptoms vanished. That's not to say that symptoms didn't still creep up and come into play, because they did, because I wasn't given the proper education to understand like how to advocate for myself at a restaurant, what questions to ask a restaurant staff. Can I eat off of things that are shared equipment? Can I eat things that are in a shared fryer? Can I still eat oats? I was not given any of this information. So I was constantly getting cross-contaminated for years into my diagnosis. So I still dealt with symptoms fairly regularly, but it was nothing compared to what I was dealing with before with my chronic health problems. Now, yes, I did start feeling better shortly after going gluten-free, but I do want you to give yourself some time and some grace, and at least give yourself 8 to 10 weeks of being strict on a gluten-free diet. That means you're not going to eat out at restaurants that aren't 100% gluten-free. That might mean you're going to be cooking all of your own meals, and maybe that's going to be a lot of work for you for a while, but it's only temporary. You need to allow your body time to heal so that your villi are grown back and the damage that has been done to the cells, to the tissue in your stomach, is properly back to its, original state, so that you can be like absorbing nutrients in the right way and then actually be able to start feeling better. So bottom line is, you need this education so that you know why it's important not to cheat, because every time you cheat, it's almost like you're starting back over at ground zero. Those villi get blunted again, they get damaged again, and you're starting back over at ground zero, and you're basically starting back over from day one in hopes of making it 8 to 10 weeks again for your villi to heal. Now, I don't want to say that it is 8 to 10 weeks. I would say that's the minimum time for healing. Everybody's body's going to be different, and there could be other factors at play that are going to give you an autoimmune flare up, or maybe you'll get a virus, maybe you get, COVID, maybe you get sick, maybe something happens that affects your immune system in general that decreases the speed of healing, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't want you to think, well, it's been 8 weeks and I'm still not feeling better. Could take months. It could take a year. I'm not going to say that, yes, it takes 8 to 12 weeks, but I am going to say at a minimum, you need to give yourself 8 to 10 weeks of being strict with eating a gluten-free diet short after your diagnosis for you to necessarily see changes in your body, and the proper healing needs to have begun its process. So I hope that makes more sense and gives you an understanding of why eating a strict gluten-free diet is important to us, because it's actually causing damage and our body is attacking itself. That's what an autoimmune disease is. Your body thinks that gluten is this foreign subject that they need to attack, and it attacks your small intestine. So there's the why behind why we eat gluten-free with celiac disease. And it is very important that you educate your family and your friends. Again, raise awareness, share this education, share content that other people are making to help your friends and family who follow you on Facebook or Instagram and understand you and your disease, so that they can learn, and that they can learn something new and broaden their horizons and open their eyes to be more understanding and more compassionate towards you as somebody who needs to eat a strict gluten-free diet. I hope that helps. I just wanted people to get the proper education, because I don't think that it's being given in doctors' offices. Now, of course, you might be one of the lucky ones who had a really amazing experience with a really great doctor who specializes in celiac disease, who has a dietitian who works underneath them who specializes in celiac disease, and they have the resources to help you with that. But I would say that percentage of people who are getting that type of education is very, very small. Now, there are tons of great resources out there for you to do. And I would say most people who, especially people who commented on my Instagram post today, I had asked people like what their experience was with their doctor's appointments and what it looked like for them. And, most people had a negative experience that was like mine. And then it was all up to them to do all of their own research and do all of their own digging, which can be very overwhelming, right? So depending on what your experience was, hopefully this gives you a smaller or a shortcut to improving your health faster, right? Instead of struggling for a really long time. I wanted to read a couple of things that people wrote on my Instagram post today. Let's see here. Sorry, guys, be patient with me here. All right, this Kim wrote in and said, I received a letter from my doctor stating that I had celiac disease after I had had an upper and lower GI procedure done. I was told to make an appointment with the dietitian, but the hospital couldn't refer me to anyone. It was a lot of research and a lot of Googling, and I'm definitely still learning. See, like some people just are not given anything, like they're given an email. You have celiac disease, and that's it. So my hope is that my education and my platforms that I share all of this on can give you the leg up that you need, and give you the education faster. Let's see. All right. I knew that I had celiac disease because I had done the research. However, I was gluten sensitive. Now I have been diagnosed with celiac disease, and it has taught me a lot. It has been really hard. A lot of people think that it's a fad. I actually watched one of your videos, and it helped me a lot about hidden labels and how to read labels and products that I never knew had gluten in them. So thank you. Oh, thank you for your comment. Um, I did another person wrote and said, I did get education and met with a dietitian a few times, but honestly, it was so overwhelming, even as a nurse. Okay, so this girl writing in is a nurse. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it can be so overwhelming. Like, when you like watch the movies and like somebody like gets diagnosed with cancer, and then like in the movies, like everything's just like blurry and they can't hear the doctor and they're not understanding what they're saying. And then all of a sudden you like hear the doctor being like, are you there? Are you okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? And then they like check back in and they're like, they didn't hear anything that the doctor said because they're like so in their head. That can be what a celiac disease appointment can be like, where the doctor's telling you things, but you're like not absorbing anything because you're so overwhelmed with everything that they're saying. Okay, back to the comment. I did get the education, but honestly, it was so overwhelming, even as a nurse. My son was 6 at his diagnosis, and 1 month before had been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Oh, mama, I'm so sorry. But we have been at it for a little over a year, and his labs 6 months later are looking much more normal, which I am very proud of. So sorry about the diabetes. I'm so sorry. Let's see. It took me almost 2 years of fighting for my son to get the right doctor to test him for celiac disease. That's another thing about this. It's so frustrating when you go to a doctor's appointment and you ask for a celiac test and they're like, you don't have any of the symptoms you don't have any of the common symptoms that celiac disease would. It doesn't matter if your symptoms are common or not. If you feel like your symptoms are abnormal and unusual, you have the right to ask for any testing. You are the patient. You are the one paying for your tests, and you can ask for any testing. You should not let any doctor tell you, like, no, you don't have that. Like, you don't need to get that test. No, I want the test. I'm paying for the test. You have no say in this. I am the patient. I have my rights to asking for any testing that I want because I am the patient paying for this. So advocate for yourself, guys. Let's see. When we got the phone call later that his blood work said, and the doctor said, your son has celiac disease. He can only eat certified gluten-free foods, and that is all that they left us with. No clue what gluten-free was. And I had no idea what gluten-free was, to be honest. I had to do lots of homework, but now I'm a pro at it for him. I had no clue about what celiac disease was either. Same with me. I had no idea. So then that just made it 10 times harder because I was like, they just told me I had celiac disease and eat gluten-free. And I just, no education was given. And it was very frustrating. I had another girl write in and say that she had an appointment with, after doing her own research, with celiac disease, she went in and they met with a dietitian, and the dietitian said, you know more than I do about celiac disease. Which, no one wants to hear that when you're going to a medical professional doctor's appointment. So you can find resources of people who specialize in celiac disease. There are resources for that. If you've listened to previous episodes, I have had other people on the podcast who specialize specifically in celiac disease, who are registered dietitians, who their team is there to actually help you. Now, of course, I am a one-on-one consultant and I do lifestyle consulting. And my consulting is for people who are newly diagnosed, whether it's for yourself or for your child. And you need to understand like things that are going to impact your life and things that are going to make your gluten-free journey easier. Now, my coaching is not dietetics related at all. We're not going to be talking about like foods you should be eating and meal plan and weight loss and anything like that. Like in my one-on-one consultation call, I literally give you all of the tips and ways that I live my life to make my life easier. We role play, we talk about situations you're going to be put in and how you're going to navigate those. We talk about the types of conversations you need to have with different types of people in your life so that they understand. If you're a parent of somebody with celiac disease, a child, we are going to talk about how you're going to educate his or her teacher, the classroom, the parents of your child's friends, and then also like all of the best grocery swaps, all of the best. And when I say best, I mean like best for bang for your buck. eating gluten-free doesn't mean that you're going to be healthy all the time. Of course, there is tons of fun foods out there. There's lots of junk food out there for sure. And sometimes there's room for that, and you want to enjoy that, and you want to eat the junk, and you want to find the gluten-free dupes for X, Y, and Z. I can share with you what all of those things are and which ones are actually worth the cost. But then not only that, like, let me help you learn how to plan a trip. What is your next vacation going to look like? What apps are the best and most helpful when it comes to grocery shopping, when it comes to planning a vacation, when it comes to resources? What are good accounts specifically on social media for your needs that are going to benefit you by following them, right? There's lots of great Instagram accounts out there, and you might find some, but finding ones that are actually going to serve you in your journey, I'm there to help with that as well. And then not only that, just giving you guys a realistic expectation of what your life is going to look like so that you can take that, digest it, and go and share that with the people that you need to, so that the burden is not as heavy on you as the person living with celiac disease or the parent living with celiac disease. So I am here as that resource. I do my one-on-one coaching calls done via Zoom. They're $105 for a consultation call. It's an hour-long Zoom call. But then after that, I am your consultant forever. So I am here to be your guide. You have access to text me. You can send me voice messages. You can email me. You can call me if you need additional help after everything that I've given you and emailed you after our call. And right now, I am currently working on getting my consultation calls done and recorded so that they can be done, like be purchased as an e-course for you to go at your own pace to get educational content, and then videos in between of me teaching and educating you and doing those types of, role plays and conversations and practicing kind of how you're going to advocate for yourself at an airport, at a restaurant, at your grandma's house, Thanksgiving, things like this that are going to come up that you're going to be like, okay, this is my first holiday with this disease. What do I do? Like, this seems so overwhelming and so daunting. I run through every case scenario you can think of. And if we don't go over it in a consultation call, you have access to reach me where I can help coach you through whatever you need. So I am here to be a resource for you and help you and be your guide as you are learning the ropes of a new gluten-free life. So please let me help you if you need. I will put the link for signing up for a consultation call in the show notes. The link is also in my bio on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to schedule a consultation. Like I said, I'm here for you for that. My biggest point of this episode was to educate and give people the proper education, because like I said, I don't think that that's happening in doctors' offices. And then there's a big gap between time of diagnosis to actually thriving and feeling better. That gap, I want that gap to be, 6 months max. I don't want it to be 2 years like it was for me. I don't want you to struggle in silence. I don't want the burden to feel so heavy that you feel so overwhelmed that it's causing serious damage to your mental health, right? So let me help you. Let me be your guide. Please sign up for a consultation if that's something that you feel like you need help with. And let me know if if you need other resources, if you're looking for specific help, feel free to message me on Instagram. You can join my private Facebook group specifically for Utah. Now, of course, when I share things on Instagram that are Utah specific, I always feel bad because some people are following and they're like, well, I don't live in Utah. That sucks. I wish I could live there. It seems amazing. Utah's amazing for gluten-free, which it is. And I feel super blessed. But I do have a specific Facebook group just for Utah, just where I share like the restaurants that I eat at and the events that I host and the parties that we do that are all gluten-free. So that's also in my link in my bio, but I will put it in the show notes as well. Okay, that's everything I wanted to talk about as far as education goes. If you have any additional questions, please message me. I'm more than happy to chat with you, and I will voice memo you. I am a voice memo gal, so you can expect a voice memo from me if you have any questions. Next week on the podcast, I am going to be having the CEO and founder of Find Me Gluten Free on, Jason, and we are going to be talking about Find Me Gluten Free, the making of that app, and that being a awesome resource for people who need help finding restaurants when they're traveling or even in their own city. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be on next week's episode. I appreciate you guys always tuning in and sharing my podcast, leaving ratings and reviews. I really, really love reading and hearing what you guys think about the podcast. My hope is that it helps you, it makes you feel less alone. It makes you feel like you're part of a community, and just hearing and knowing that somebody else is going through what you're going through. And, it's not always easy. It's not always a piece of cake. It does require work, but it's always worth it. So thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next week.